Good morning, good evening, and good day. Today we continue our How to Play the Division series with the first Lovas. If you enjoy this content, please hit that like button and subscribe. It's completely free to you, and it helps the channel out a lot. Let's dive right in. So here we are with the what I would call the premier Hungarian division. I'm really looking forward to the DLC will be coming out at some point. I think there's a Hungarian division coming out, DLC. So looking at this, the strengths of this division are obviously here in this infantry tab. These are some of the best infantry in the game. It's an absolutely phenomenal infantry tab. Really, really fun. You get a really strong air force full of Falcon Wolves and Ju-87s. You get a really cool AT tab with a lot of really strong options that are really fun to use. In terms of weakness, the support tab leaves a lot to be desired. There's really nothing to work with there that's really effective. Your artillery tab is just average. It's neither a plus nor a minus for the deck. It's just kind of average. Your Recon tab is also quite solid. Your armor tab is either a big positive or a severe negative. It really kind of depends on what divisions you're running up against. The Tehran 1s and 2s are awesome in their roles. They're not awesome in terms of other things. Like they can't kill tanks. For the most part, they're not really for tank killing, which can be quite tricky. So let's dive in here. Oh, and I should mention the biggest weakness of this deck, I would actually say, is its speed. All your infantry are forced to be brought into in these batoned A's, which only have 60 kilometers per hour, so they're very slow. So getting to the front line takes a long time and is really a severe struggle. So just be aware that is definitely a big weakness of this deck, is its speed. Let's hop into what is my favorite tab in this deck, and that is the good old infantry tab. It really has three strong choices for line infantry, and that's a lot of choices, honestly, for line infantry. You start with the Husarok, which is their like main infantry. These guys used to be much worse, but they got an upgrade when they got this light machine gun. It's a 16-man squad, only 25 points. You have 2 submachine guns, 13 straight pull rifles, a light machine gun, and an anti-tank grenade. That is a lot for 25 points. That's awesome. Straight pull rifle is a little bit better than your traditional bolt action rifle, so that's a plus. This submachine gun has extremely ridiculous accuracy. It's twice the accuracy of the MP40, so it's kind of crazy, actually. It's not that it's going to make the squad really good at close range, but it will definitely help it out. Having the machine gun's not good, but it is a machine gun. Having a light machine gun's a lot better than not having one at all. And then, of course, getting an AT grenade or any sort of AT weapon at all is awesome. It's got a really high accuracy. It's good stuff. It'll kill anything it hits. So awesome little squad here, only 25 points, and it's just chunky. Every squad in this division is chunky. So continuing on, our next one is the Huza Goroshodoshok. Basically a Husarok squad with a couple things switched out. Still 16 men. You get those straight pull rifles, but only 12, and 1 machine gun. But instead, submachine gun, excuse me, you get 3 light machine guns. Very, very strong. It doesn't even matter that they're not high quality machine guns. Having 3 machine guns means that you're going to win basically every suppression battle at range. These guys are really, really strong. They are 30 points, so they're not cheap, but they are really strong and will win many infantry combats, except against the best of the best kind of infantry. And of course, at close range, these guys really suffer because they lose their light machine guns. So really strong. And finally, of the Husarok MG42. These are basically the Husaroks that were armed up with German equipment. So we see here the bonuses. We have a G43, this semi-automatic rifle. We only have 10 of them. We have 2 MP40s. We get an MG42 instead of the Solothurn or whatever it's called. Let's look here. Yeah, Solothurn. And you get a Panzerfaust. So 3 significant upgrades in the machine gun, the AT, and the rifle. The submachine gun is a downgrade. And you also lose 3 troops, which is not a huge loss. It's still a chunky squad, but it's certainly not the chunk of the actual Husarok squad. I would say this squad is a little weaker at close range because, again, of that downgraded submachine gun and less rifles than the Husarok squad. So if you're looking at, your line infantry fighting in force if they have to, which they often do in this division, the Husarok is probably the better choice. Then in terms of close range firepower, you get the Ozarakt, and these are basically just chunky pioneer squads. That's really all they are. They don't have a machine gun. They have straight pull rifles. They're just big, effective. They throw their grenades and kill things. You get your 5-man flamer squad. You do have these kind of cheap 20-point infantry. I don't see why you would take these over more Husaroks, because the Husaroks are only 5 points more and are significantly better squads. So I don't know why you would ever take these over them. One thing to note also, the Husaroks is the fantastic availability curve. We have 9, 18, 36. I mean, that's just a lot of guys. So you can really comfortably upfet these guys and still get plenty of dudes. So it's really really great. You can see my entire infantry tab is up-vetted. I even double vetted these MG42s because truthfully, I'm playing on Maverick. You're not going to get through all these infantry on Maverick. You really won't, because they're expensive. 25, 30 points is expensive. You're not really spamming these very much. You need each squad to hold up on their own. So continuing on, we have the solid Recon tab here. You get lots of little tanks, light tanks to use. The infantry are not fantastic. You don't really need more infantry. Otherwise, you could take these. They're 12 men. They're Recon. They do have a machine gun. They have the straight pull rifles, so they're not bad. But they don't have AT or anything, so that's definitely a bummer. If they had AT, I would absolutely take them, but they don't. So the other options then include, you have basically Alpha Claires, the 2-man squads. You have these little armored cars, but truthfully, they're basically the same as the Toldi 1. They're just a little bit faster. And I mean, their optics are a little bit higher too, I will say that. So, I mean, you could do either of these. They're both solid. The big difference here, Toldi 1 actually has radio. So this Toldi 1 has radio on it, which means that some of your artillery that does have radio can benefit from this, which is why I take these. They're also only 15 points instead of 20. You can really spam these around. These AT rifles are actually really, really good. They kill all kinds of transports. They can kill all armor cars. They fire quite fast. They're very, very good. The other option here is the Toldi 2, which you should definitely take. This is basically the same as the Tehran 1. Very solid light tank. This thing does work. It fires extremely fast. It's that fast rate of fire that really makes it deadly. Continuing on to its controversial tank tab. So the tanks, you have two options, the Tehran 1 and the Tehran 2. 35 and 40 points respectively. You will definitely see a lot of argument on which one of these is better. I say it's the Tehran 2. I'm not saying I'm right. I'll make my argument here for why. So, in my opinion, they have the same exact armor, so that's not an argument point. They have the same exact speed. That's not an argument point. So it really comes down to the difference in gun. They both have double machine guns, so they're basically equivalent except for the gun. So the Tehran 1 has that incredible fire rate of 17 rounds per minute. It's got a nice 50% accuracy, 75 millimeters of penetration. The HE shell, though, only does 0.8 damage, so this is important to note, okay? When we hop over here to the Tehran 2, we only have 12 rounds per minute, so we're losing 5 rounds per minute. It's got the same level of accuracy for its AP shell here, okay? And its AP shell only has 55 millimeters of penetration. Now, you do get these heat shells, which have 90 millimeters of penetration, which is actually higher than the Tehran 1, but you lose a lot of accuracy, right? You lose a little bit of range. The other big thing to note here is the range. So you only have a 1,000-meter range on the Tehran 1, and you have 1,500-millimeter range on the Tehran 2. Along with that, Tehran 2's HE shells are significantly stronger at 1.52 damage than the Tehran 1. So the combination of all these things, I personally much prefer the Tehran 2. I realize that the fast fire speed of the Tehran 1 is a little better, and that might make this thing the better tank killer, but my argument is that these things are not for killing tanks in the first place. You'll see it in my game that I do kill a number of T-3476s with these things, and they certainly can do that. But the Tehran 2 can also do that just fine as well. So I think the increased support power of the Tehran 2 is just more worth it. I love the extra 500 meters range is a significant difference in range. This thing can actually like reach out and fight other tanks. This one really can't. It has to be like in the brawl mode sort of thing. I think both tanks are very, very strong, which is why I have both. I have 2 cards of Tehran 1s in A and 2 cards of Tehran 2 in B, all up vetted because why not? You still get so many of them. Spam away. You should call these in twos basically. 70 points for 2 of them, 80 points for 2 of those, and they just got a recent buff to their health, so they're very, very, very strong right now. You should definitely be using them generously. Now, the support tab, definitely a little bit disappointing. You only have the Schwadloses for machine guns. There's unfortunately no MG42s or anything. These machine guns are lackluster, to say the least. Only a 1,000-meter range, not a very high rate of fire. But they do come in the faster vehicles here, so you can at least get them out. You do get 6, so that's kind of salves the wound. They're only 20 points. They're really not good, though, but they're kind of a necessary evil. You do get flamers, so that's definitely a plus. That's about it. You get the commander, you get the supply. These are okay, but they're really short range, and I don't like how much micro I have to use them. If they had 800-meter range, I would probably use them, but they don't. And these 1,500-meter range infantry guns really aren't doing well right now. They're not in a good place in the meta, so I would not be using those. So definitely lacking for the support tab. The AT tab, love this tab. I wish there were more slots. The biggest issue is there's just not a lot of slots, which is obviously why they do it, but it's unfortunate because I would take literally all of this. I love everything. So you get these, one of the best AT rifles in the game, the Solothrun rifle here, 40mm penetration, 20 rounds per minute, 60% accuracy, 2 damage. I mean, this thing will kill most armor cards, well, basically any armor card. It also has 500-meter range, which is huge for an AT rifle. Only 10 points to bring in. You absolutely should. Your other option is the Panzerschreck, which is totally legitimate to take as well. I just love having something at the beginning of the game that can get out and harass the enemy. It can do so much damage if you can get them behind the lines and kill transports and stuff. Super duper good. Continue on. So there's an argument between these two here for a light AT weapon. So there's only one I would say the 75 mil is better. If I had to just pick one in a vacuum, I would probably take the 75 mil. It's got, pretty solid HE power, with 2.2 damage on its HE. It's actually really quite high. It reaches out to 1500 meter range. The AP shells kind of stink, but you get like infinity heat shells at okay accuracy. Honestly, the same accuracy basically as, 5% difference between the heat and the AP. So these are really quite good. The problem is this. They only come in slow transports, while this one can come in the faster transport. Why does this matter? Because at the beginning of the game, I need to get my AT out front, especially this kind of light AT. This one only has 1,000 meter range on its AP. It does have some HE shells, but they're quite weak, so don't expect them to do a lot. The bonus for this guy is their heat shell here at 750 meter range. It can fire. It has 180 millimeter penetration, insta-kill if it hits. So, I mean, this is great. I really like these. The only reason I'm taking this over this is literally the transport. If these guys came in a faster transport, I would take these. The increased range, the higher HE support damage, I think these are better, but I want them to get to the field. Also, you get 6/4. That is a nice little bonus too. Then 2 Pak-40s, because Pak-40s are great, and you get the Jagdpanzer 38T, which is a Hetzer minus the APCR shells. These things are absolutely fantastic, which is why I'm bringing them in B. I'm giving them a little veterancy, because again, I'm playing Maverick. I'm not going to be able to call all this stuff out, so I have to be realistic. You could bring them in an A, but oftentimes I just prefer them in B, so I kind of have like a long time. This is like your only real tank that can brawl with other medium tanks kind of thing, and it brawls very well with other medium tanks. So very strong unit here. Decide where you want it to be. Continuing on, anti-air tab, very strong AA tab. You get 40 millimeters, basically Bofors. These are fantastic. They're really, really good. And then you get one of the best AA pieces in the game, the Nimrod. It has AP shells, so it can very easily take out lighter armor. And then it has these heat shells, which is basically a rocket they put on the end and shoot. You really don't want your Nimrod to be close enough that a tank can shoot it, but the fact that it could is really fun. Otherwise, you can move it around, and you get 4 of them. It's a very good piece of AA. So it's a very strong AA tab across. I have vetted the 2 40 mils because I don't think you're going to need that much AA, especially with its strong fighter force. I don't think the 80 mil is worth it. It does not suppress fast enough, and it just is kind of unnecessary with your other stronger options. So, yeah. Artillery. Like I said, a very average artillery tab. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing that I love about it either. I'm taking the 81 mil mortars. I'm taking the leaders, so I have some more radio leaders. And I am bringing a card in B of the 150 mil. I do like to oftentimes call these in when the game is going rather well, and this can kind of lock it up for me. Other options, you can take the Gorings here, the 105 millimeter mortars. Not mortars, excuse me, artillery. I'm not usually a fan of these because I just don't find the 100 millimeter artillery to be really effective. It really seems to lack killing power, so I don't tend to take these very often. Your other options are these off maps. I don't like 105 millimeter off map. I don't think it does enough damage. It just doesn't really do very much. A lot of times it sometimes doesn't even suppress everything, so I'm not a huge fan of these, but they can be effective. This is a lot more effective, the 210 millimeter off map, but I don't really like off map planes because the second the opponent gets a whole bunch of AA in, these are essentially useless, and if it gets shot down, then you just lost a whole lot of points. So that's why I don't take these. I also am an absolute hater of off maps, which is why I don't use them very often, but they are definitely very viable choices for this division. And then you get to your very strong air tab. You have Falcon Wolf fighters. Okay, you have 2 cards of them. I'm only bringing 1 because the Falcon Wolf in B, the bomber variant, functions as another set of fighters. You can use them. They're just slower. That's it. And the agility is a little bit worse. Otherwise, you get that medium resilience. These are extremely strong. For some reason, the bomber variant's even cheaper than the fighter variant. Not 100% sure why. Usually the bomber is a little bit more expensive. You also get 6, so you get lots of them. Then you get the Ju-87s, 2 cards of them, which is so great. One of the best AT planes in the game. If it's not suppressed, it should kill any tank in the game in a single shot. Very, very, very strong plane there. And then you get one of the best recon planes in the game, the Falcon Wolf 189A2 with 4 50 kilogram bombs. This will kill basically any support weapon that it bombs. It can actually you know, half or heavily chunk most infantry squads. Only 65 points. Love bringing this at the beginning to disrupt the opponent's opening move, you know, kind of bomb some of those early units, because again, they're very much faster than you. So if you can kind of bomb their early Ognamachiki or PTRSs or things like that, it kind of can level the playing field at the beginning of the game for yourself. Other options include your JU-88s. Both of these are solid. Not the 87, sorry, the JU-88. Very solid choice. I just don't have room for it, and I don't really need a heavy bomber when I have the Falcon Wolves instead. I would honestly take another card of these over something else probably, because these are just super good. And again, having Recon is it's undervalued. It's very, very strong in that air tab. So this is the first Lovas Maverick build that I'm doing. It works very well and balanced as well. You'll see a very solid game where I'm able to push the opponent back with my Maverick income, and then use the quality of my infantry and my light armor to basically fend off their heavier tanks and stuff. It's a very good game. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please hit that like button and subscribe, and have a fantastic day.